It's a particular privilege for me to be participating in this conference on behalf of UNICEF. And it's particularly relevant given the theme of DCI's 5th International Conference, which is Child Rights and Sight. As you know, UNICEF works around the world for the rights of children. The Convention on the Rights of the Child forms the guiding instrument that shapes our work. But this morning, I'm going to talk to you about one of the most excluded groups among children, children with disabilities. According to the World Disability Report, 15% of the world's population, or an estimated 1 billion people, live with a disability. 1 in 10 children is said to have a disability. It's estimated there are around 150 million children with disabilities in the world, and 80% live in developing countries. I often hear people say that children are the future. For us, children are very much the present. What we ensure for children now will largely determine the future that they'll have. Children with disabilities are first and foremost children. Like all children, they have a right to quality education, to health care, to clean drinking water, and a safe environment so that they can have dreams and realize it like others. But ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, the reality is that children with disabilities are excluded in most of what happens in today's society. They are less likely to go to school, and even if they go, they are less likely to learn on an equal basis with their non-disabled peers. They are less likely to access health care. They are less likely to participate in the community. On the other hand, they are more likely to experience violence and abuse and more likely to live in poverty. There are 285 million people in this world who are blind and or visually impaired. 75% of it is preventable and reversible. Poverty remains to be one of the main factors that lead to disabilities. Poverty, on one hand, is a cause of disability, and on the other hand, disability traps children and their families into poverty. At UNICEF, work on children with disabilities have been gaining significant ground over the last several years. Last year, more than 100 UNICEF country offices from the global south reported work on rights of children with disabilities, ranging from inclusive education, protecting children from violence and abuse, working on deinstitutionalization, on research and evidence and data gathering on children with disabilities, and so on. We have made huge strides in access to education. But even now, when a blind girl goes with her father to the neighborhood school, the father is most likely to hear that your child is not fit to study in this school. My question is it the child who is not fit to study, or is it the school which is not fit to teach? If it's the school which is not fit to teach, let's transform schools. At UNICEF, we have been working hard. Last year, we worked with the government of Namibia to form a practical national inclusive education policy. Governments are showing more and more interest in addressing issues of people with disabilities and children with disabilities in particular. I was in Kenya last week, where we are working with the government, the Ministry of Education, to ensure that children with disabilities get books in formats which are accessible to them. In refugee camps of Jordan, we are trying to ensure that children with disabilities get basic rehabilitation services and education. In Zambia, we are working with the government to deploy a huge cash transfer program which consciously includes children with disabilities. In Bangladesh, UNICEF has collaborated with the government to do a nationwide situation analysis on children with disabilities, which will inform policies on inclusion. Up to 2004, World Bank estimates that the annual range of GDP loss because of disability is a whopping $1.7 to $2.2 trillion, or about 5 to 6% of global GDP. This is a huge loss, and only inclusive investment can trigger the contribution of 1 billion people with disabilities in our society. Now, what do I mean by inclusive investment? Research shows that if planned from the beginning, to construct an accessible building costs only 1 to 3% more. However, every day, buildings are constructed which continue to be inaccessible. We urge that we don't spend a single dollar to build new barriers. It is not the impairment, it's more the barriers that children with disabilities face that prevent them from accessing education or healthcare or participate in the community, and this needs to change. We stand at an important moment now. As Ms. Donaldson just mentioned, the Sustainable Development Goals have been adopted by the UN family last month. Unlike the MDGs, it has explicit references on inclusion of children with disabilities. This gives us huge hope. At UNICEF, we are trying to finalize large-scale data collection tools because we need evidence to track progress. It's also true that no one single agency can work together. Governments, civil society organizations, UN agencies, academic institutions, we all need to come together. And that's where I find the work of DCI particularly useful. And I congratulate you for the important work that you are doing. At UNICEF, we remain committed to working with all of you, with partners, to ensure an inclusive society, a society in which all children, including children with disabilities, get to enjoy their rights and realize their potential. There are millions of children who are being denied the opportunity. But together, we can make a difference. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.